Texas. You can stand in the middle of it and see nothing but grass and sky in every direction for so far that the earth starts to curve. No buildings, no fences. Just you and 40 acres of land that costs less than a parking spot in downtown Dallas. This is a state with more farmland than any other in the country, more cattle than some states have people, no state income tax, and enough open space that your nearest neighbor can be a 20-minute drive away. And that's the part nobody sees. When people talk about Texas real estate, they talk about Austin. They talk about Dallas. They talk about prices that left the planet years ago. But once you look past the city limits, what's sitting out there will make you rethink everything you thought you knew about this state. 41 acres with your own private canyons. A farmhouse with a kitchen that looks like it belongs in a $500,000 home. Houses from the 1930s with property taxes lower than your phone bill. All of it real, all of it listed right now. I found too many. Texas had enough for 3 episodes. The only reason I stopped at 8 is because it's our anniversary this week, and my wife made it very clear that scrolling through listings at midnight is not a date. I'm Joseph, I'm retired, and every week I pick a different state and dig through listings until I find the ones that don't make sense. Subscribe to my channel Tiny Bucks Houses so you see them before everyone else does. The list starts at $245,000, and by the time we get to the end, we're down to $27,000. I had to close the tab and open it again because I was sure the page loaded wrong. It loaded fine. The house is real, and it's still for sale. Let's start with the first house. Built in 1940, and if you saw it back then, you wouldn't recognize a single thing about what's standing here today. Because somebody took this farmhouse down to the bones and rebuilt it into something that looks like it belongs on the cover of a magazine. 10 acres, chicken coop, livestock pens, a well they just dug, and a kitchen that's going to stop you in your tracks. The kitchen runs the show in this house. Dark navy cabinets floor to ceiling, open shelving with white dishes lined up like a general store, a butcher block island in the center with room to work on every side. The countertops are dark, the hardware is brass, and overhead, wooden beams running across the ceiling with a chandelier hanging between them. This is not a farmhouse kitchen that's pretending to be something. This is the real thing. The kind of room where you cook slow, eat late, and nobody's in a hurry to leave the table. The living room opens up right next to it. High ceilings, big windows looking straight out onto the Texas prairie. The whole house is 1,400 square feet, and somehow every room feels bigger than that number has any right to. The dining area sits between the kitchen and the living room with a chandelier and arched mirrors on the wall, the kind of detail that makes you stop and look twice. The primary bedroom has a Western-style wooden bed frame, plaid curtains, a ceiling fan, and a window that looks out over the land. The second has a hand-painted tree mural on the wall and a calm that feels like it was designed for a kid to grow up in. The third has 2 twin beds, soft blue walls, and a handmade patchwork quilt hanging behind them. And off the hallway there's a reading nook with wooden beams on the ceiling, an antique desk by the window, and a view of nothing but open prairie, the kind of spot where you sit down for 5 minutes and an hour disappears. And the bathrooms, both of them tell the same story as the rest of this house. The first one has a freestanding soaking tub sitting in the center of the room on marble tile, with a farmhouse sink set into an antique barn door cabinet. The second has a dark burled wood dresser, the kind you'd find in an antique shop, turned into a vanity with a white vessel sink on top and a gold-framed mirror above it. The laundry room has a modern stacked washer and dryer built into a cabinet, clean, hidden, done right. Now step outside. 10 acres of open Texas prairie stretching out in every direction. The fencing is already up, barbed wire around the entire property. There's an enclosed chicken coop with room for a full flock, a livestock shed with pens already built, a storage building that's been insulated, a 2-car detached garage and a 2-car carport, 3 water spigots spread across the property, a livestock tank, and a well they dug recently. The plumbing, electric, windows, and ductwork were all updated in 2023. You're not buying a dream and a to-do list, you're buying the finished version. Now let me tell you where this is. 275 people in the Texas Panhandle, the kind of place where you know every truck on the road by the sound of its engine. 14 miles from your front door is Clarendon, groceries, hospital, everything you need for a regular run. Greenbelt Lake is 25 minutes north, And when you see a lake with trees around it in the middle of the panhandle, you stop and appreciate it. But the real surprise is about an hour west. Palo Duro Canyon, 800 feet deep, 20 miles wide, and somehow the second largest canyon in the entire country. Most people outside Texas have never heard of it. You'd be living an hour away. This is a farmhouse that somebody loved enough to rebuild from the studs out. 10 acres, a kitchen that stops you in your tracks, and a homestead that's already set up and ready to go. $245,000. But the next house caught me completely off guard because somehow you're getting even more value for even less money. From the outside, this house looks like something between a farmhouse and a barn. Dark siding, metal roof, tall windows glowing warm at night. It doesn't look like the last house at all, and it's not supposed to. This is a different kind of Texas. I put a floor plan in the corner so you can follow along as we walk through. The kitchen has dark navy cabinets with glass front uppers, black appliances, and a long stretch of counter space with a breakfast bar where you could sit 4 people without anyone bumping elbows. There's a separate dining area off to the side with enough room for a full table, and windows on 3 sides bringing in the trees. The living room is where this house starts to feel like home. Wood plank accent wall behind a big mounted TV, leather couches deep enough to disappear into, ceiling fan turning slow overhead. The light in here is good, big windows looking straight out onto the property. You can see the green from every angle. This is the room where Sunday disappears and nobody notices. The primary bedroom has a massive wooden bed frame with hand-carved stars and rustic shutters on the windows. This room sets the tone for the whole house. 3 more bedrooms upstairs, each with its own feel. One has teal wood plank walls with white trim, bright, calm, and big enough to set up however you want. Another is big enough for a king bed with room left over. And the 4th is set up as a nursery right now, but it's the kind of room that grows with whoever lives in it. A reading room, a home office, a guest room, it becomes whatever you need. The primary bath has a double vanity in dark wood with a gold-framed mirror and industrial pendant lights on each side, and a glass door walk-in shower with room to move. The second bath upstairs is simpler. Tub and shower combo, light blue walls, but clean and done. But the room that stops you is the game room. Full-size pool table in the center, dartboard on the wall, bar stools lined up along a counter, string lights across the ceiling. Picture a Friday night. Your grandkids are running around downstairs. Your friends are up here racking balls and arguing over whose turn it is. Somebody's keeping score on the wall, and nobody's keeping score for real. This is the room that turns a house into the place everyone wants to come to. Now walk outside, because this is where Woodville stops being a regular listing. Under a covered pavilion out back, somebody built a full bar. Rustic wood countertop, bar stools, string lights, a neon sign glowing in the corner. Right next to it, a hot tub. Past that, a fire pit with chairs around it. And beyond all of it, the property opens up into 6.5 acres of mature trees, bright green grass, and a creek running through the back of the land. This is not a house with a nice backyard. This is a place someone designed for the kind of weekends that start on Friday and don't end until someone has to go back to work. Now let me tell you where this is. About 2,500 people. This is not the dry, flat Texas from the last house. This is green, tall pines, creeks cutting through everything, air that smells different after rain. Beaumont is under an hour if you need a city. Houston is about 90 miles south when you need a big one. But the reason people come to this part of Texas is what's growing all around you. The Big Thicket National Preserve, 113,000 acres that scientists call the biological crossroads of North America. Pine forest, cypress swamp, hardwood bottomland, even carnivorous plants growing wild. 9 different ecosystems packed into one preserve. 40 miles of trails, blackwater bayous you can kayak through, and it's practically next door. So here's what you're getting. 6.5 acres with a game room, an outdoor bar, a hot tub, and a creek running through the back for a price that just dropped $20,000. But somehow, the next property drops even lower in price, and instead of losing land, you gain an entire landscape, 41 acres, private canyons, endless desert views, and a house sitting high above it all like it was built there to watch over the silence. This one is nothing like the first two. No Navy kitchens, no pool tables, no creek in the backyard. This is West Texas, and out here, the land is the house. 41 acres of Chihuahuan desert, limestone formations rising out of the ground like something left behind by an ancient ocean, because that's exactly what they are. Canyons cut into the rock deep enough to walk into and lose the sound of wind. Elevation changes across the property that give you a different view every 100 yards. And from the high point, a straight, unbroken line of sight to 9-Point Mesa, one of the most recognizable landmarks in the Big Bend region. The house itself is unlike anything you've seen on this channel. A 2-story stucco and block structure, almost round, like someone took a water tank and turned it into a home. The second floor has a wraparound deck with a railing and a view that goes on forever. You stand up there and you see nothing man-made in any direction, just desert, mesa, and sky. At night, and this matters, you're inside the Greater Big Bend International Dark Sky Reserve. 15,000 square miles of protected darkness. No streetlights, no glow on the horizon, just the Milky Way from edge to edge, clear enough to make you forget you've ever lived in a city. Inside it's small, 735 square feet, 2 bedrooms, 2 bathrooms. The current owner lives here full-time and says it's everything they need. The solar keeps the lights on, the water catchment fills the tanks, and the nearest town handles the rest. That said, there are parts of this house that are still unfinished. You can see it in the photos. Some rooms need drywall, some need trim work, some need a vision. But the bones are solid, the systems work, and the land around it doesn't need a single thing. And here's what makes this location special. 6,000 people, the biggest town in the biggest county in Texas. Brewster County is larger than the entire state of Connecticut. Alpine has your groceries, your hospital, your restaurants, everything you need when you come in from the desert. But the real reason people know this part of Texas is what's around it. Big Bend National Park is about an hour and a half south. Desert, mountains, and the Rio Grande cutting through canyons 1,000 feet deep. Marfa is 30 minutes west, the art town famous for its mystery lights and installations that draw visitors from everywhere. And the McDonald Observatory is 45 minutes north in the Davis Mountains, one of the best telescopes in the world, and they open it to the public for star parties under skies so dark you can see Jupiter's moons. 41 acres of private desert with your own canyons, views of 9-Point Mesa, and $600 a year in taxes. This property isn't a house, it's a piece of the earth that most people only ever see in a documentary. And just when the last property felt impossible to follow up, the next one completely breaks the logic of this market, because somehow the house gets bigger than everything you've seen so far, while the price falls even lower. This house wasn't built from lumber you buy at Home Depot. It was built from a church. St. Mary's in Port Arthur stood from 1922. Someone rescued the wood before the last wall came down. And every beam in this house carried prayers for 83 years before it carried a roof. Every beam, every door frame, every plank under your feet, this wood held up a church for almost a century. That kind of material doesn't exist anymore. You can't order it. You can't fake it. You either have it or you don't. 4 bedrooms, 3.5 bathrooms, almost 3,000 square feet on 2 acres, completely surrounded by East Texas pine forest. The ceilings are high and open. The rooms are wide. The living room has a wood-burning fireplace and enough space to feel like a gathering hall. The kitchen has wood cabinets on 2 sides and an original porcelain farmhouse sink, the deep, heavy kind that doesn't move when you lean into it. It's been here as long as the house has. One of the downstairs rooms is so big the owner set it up as a full home gym. Weights, equipment, open floor, and it still doesn't feel crowded. That tells you everything about the scale of this house. There are 2 primary suites, 1 on each floor, which means 2 families, 2 generations, or just 2 people who like their own space. The screened-in back porch is where you'll spend your evenings. It wraps around the house, looks straight into the trees, and keeps every mosquito in East Texas exactly where it belongs, outside. The new aerobic septic was installed in October 2025. Walk off the porch, and you're on 2 acres surrounded by East Texas pine forest on every side. The Angelina River cuts through the trees just behind the property, close enough to walk to. And if you look past the tree line, you can see it. Lake Sam Rayburn, right there, not even a full drive away. This aerial photo tells the whole story better than I can. Now let me tell you where this house is sitting. 7,500 people in the middle of the East Texas piney woods. This part of the state gets more rain than almost anywhere else in Texas. Everything is green, everything is growing, and the rivers run year-round. The town itself has your groceries, a hospital, restaurants, and enough character to feel like a real place and not just a dot on a map. But the real draw is 10 minutes north. Lake Sam Rayburn, 114,000 acres of water, the largest lake entirely inside Texas. Bassmaster magazine ranked it number 1 in the country for fishing. 750 miles of shoreline with camping, boat ramps, and beaches tucked into the pines. And right beside it, the Angelina National Forest, where you can hike, hunt, or just disappear for an afternoon without seeing another person. So here's what this house comes down to. Almost 3,000 square feet of church-built farmhouse on 2 acres, a porch big enough to live on, walking distance to the river, and 10 minutes from the best lake in the country. I genuinely had to pause for a second after seeing the next property, because houses like that usually disappear from the market almost immediately. This house was built in 1930. Yellow clapboard, covered porch, a front yard with enough room to park and still have grass left over. It doesn't shout at you from the curb. It just sits there, steady, like it's been waiting. Inside is where it gets you. The living room has original wood plank ceilings, not drywall with beams glued on, real planks running the full length of the room, warm and dark overhead. The walls are painted deep blue, and the light comes in soft through the windows. This room feels the way a house is supposed to feel when it's almost 100 years old, like the walls have stories, and the floor knows where everyone sits. The dining room changes the mood completely. Red walls, a long wooden table, French doors with glass panes letting in the yard. It's bold, and it works. The kitchen has white cabinets with a center island and enough space around it to cook. It's not a magazine kitchen. It's a real kitchen that someone actually uses. 3 bedrooms, 2 bathrooms, 2,200 square feet on a corner lot. The primary bedroom carries the same wood plank ceiling from the living room, dark wood overhead, blue walls, and a big window that fills the room with morning light. The second bedroom is bright and open, windows on 2 sides bringing in light from every angle. The third works as a kid's room, a guest room, or an office depending on who moves in. The bathrooms are simple and honest. One has a pedestal sink with a tub and shower, wood trim running along the walls. The other has a long vanity with storage underneath. Clean, practical, the kind of bathroom that does its job without asking for attention. There's a separate laundry room with a full-size washer and dryer. No central air. This house runs on window units and natural gas heat. People have been living in this house since 1930 and never needed more than that. Now step outside. This is a corner lot. Nearly 1.5 acres, almost half a block. You've got room in every direction. The yard is flat, open, and green. There's no HOA, no neighbors stacked on top of you. You can put a garden in, build a workshop, park 3 trucks, and still have space left. For a house in town, this kind of lot almost doesn't exist anymore. Now let me tell you about Clarksville. About 3,000 people in the northeast corner of Texas. A quiet town with a courthouse square, grocery stores, and everything you need without driving far. And if you need a bigger city, there are 2 within an hour in either direction. This part of Texas is green and rolling, more trees than flatland, more creeks than you'd expect. The Northeast Texas Trail runs right through town, 130 miles of converted rail line for walking and biking that stretches across the whole corner of the state. And if that's not enough, the Red River runs just north of town, close enough to fish in the evening and be home before dark. So let's add it all up. A 1930 craftsman with original wood plank ceilings, a corner lot on nearly 1.5 acres, and $321 a year in property taxes. At this point, I honestly thought the deals were starting to level out, but the next house drops below $60,000 and somehow doesn't feel like a compromise. Under $60,000, and this isn't a shell. Kids' rooms decorated, kitchen stocked, yard fenced front and back. Someone is raising a family in this house today. 3 bedrooms, 1.5 bathrooms, 1,600 square feet. The kitchen is the center of this house. Warm wood cabinets wrapping around two walls, a long counter with a breakfast bar, and enough room in the middle for everyone to be in the kitchen at once without getting in each other's way. There's a formal dining room off to the side, not something you see in every house at this price. The living room is open and comfortable. Big sectional couch, natural light coming in from the front, ceiling fan overhead. It's not staged, it's lived in, and that's what makes it honest. You can see exactly how this house works for a real family. The primary bedroom is isolated from the other two, on the far side of the house with its own privacy. The kids' rooms are bright and personal, with enough space for beds, desks, and all the clutter that comes with actually growing up in a house. The bathroom is simple. Tub and shower combo, a long vanity with storage, and wood plank on the walls that gives it more character than you'd expect at this price. There's a separate utility room with washer and dryer, not crammed into a closet, an actual room. Now step outside. The yard wraps around the house, the kind of space where you put a grill in one corner and a garden in the other and still have room left. There's a storage building in the corner and a storm shelter underneath the property. The kind of thing you hope you never need, but you sleep better knowing it's there. Now let me tell you about Pampa. About 17,000 people in the Texas panhandle. This is a real town, not a dot on the highway. Friday nights here are football. Saturdays are for fishing and driving the back roads. And every July the whole town comes alive for a rodeo that draws people in from across the state. Amarillo is an hour away when you need a big city, but the people who live here will tell you they almost never do. So let's look at what this adds up to. A 3-bedroom house with fenced yards, a storm shelter, and a kitchen with room for the whole family around the counter, in a real town with 17,000 people. But the next one drops to $45,000, and it's not even the last house on this list. The more you look into it, the more unbelievable it gets. $238 a year. That's the property tax on this house. This is a 1941 home, 3 bedrooms, 1 bathroom, almost 1,500 square feet. Blue clapboard, shade tree in the front yard, a detached carport for 2 cars. It's quiet. It doesn't try to impress you. But walk inside and the rooms are bigger than the price has any right to give you. The living room is wide and open with room for a full set of furniture and light coming in from the front windows. Walk through to the kitchen and there's an arched doorway between the rooms, the kind of detail that builders don't bother with anymore, but in 1941 somebody took the time. The kitchen itself has wood cabinets and enough counter space to work with. It's not new, but it's functional. The bedrooms are honest, good size, windows in each one, room to set up a real bed and still move around. The floors change from room to room, hardwood here, tile there. The bathroom has a tub and shower, a pedestal sink, and enough room to not feel cramped. It's 1 bathroom for the whole house, that's worth knowing, but it's clean and it works. This house needs some care and updating, no one's hiding that. But at $30 a square foot, you're paying for the bones. And these bones have been standing for over 80 years. Zillow flagged this listing as likely to sell faster than 85% of homes nearby, and that makes sense. The lot is compact, but the carport fits 2 cars, and there's enough yard out front to sit with a coffee and watch the street go quiet in the evening. Now let me tell you where this house is sitting. A small county seat in central Texas, about 3,600 people. Courthouse Square, grocery stores, a hospital, a library. Nobody's rushing anywhere and nobody wants to. The streets are lined with old oaks and the kind of houses that have been here longer than anyone can remember. Right outside town is Fort Parker State Park, 1,500 acres of woods wrapped around a lake where you can fish, kayak, or just pull up a chair by the water and let the afternoon disappear on its own. People drive from Waco and Dallas to spend a weekend here. You'd be living 5 minutes away. So here's what $45,000 buys you in Texas. A 1941 home with 3 bedrooms, an arched kitchen doorway, and property taxes that most people spend more on in a single trip to the grocery store. $30 a square foot. But the final property is where everything breaks, because the price is almost impossible to believe. $27,000. This is the one I told you about at the very beginning. The listing that made me close the tab and open it again because I was sure the page loaded wrong. Red brick on the outside, and not the thin decorative kind. This house feels solid when you stand in front of it. A garage on one side and a yard that stretches out into nothing but open Texas. Inside, 2 bedrooms, 1 bathroom, just under 1,100 square feet. The living room has dark wood trim around every doorway and window. There's a wide open entryway with windows and a laundry area built right in, bright and practical. The kitchen is simple and the bathroom is next to it. The bedrooms are at the back of the house, quiet, with enough room to live properly in both of them. The house needs updating. The floors are worn, the walls need paint, and some rooms need attention. But at this price, you're not paying for perfect. You're paying for a real house with character that most new builds will never have. The lot is just over half an acre. And half an acre in Dickens doesn't mean a fence and a neighbor 6 feet away. It means sky in every direction and the kind of silence that city people pay thousands to hear for a weekend. Now let me tell you about this place. 219 people. The county is named after a man who died at the Alamo. This is where the high plains end and the land drops off into rolling ranch country, red dirt, open range, and canyons that cut through the prairie just outside of town. Lubbock is about an hour west for groceries and a hospital, but the people who live here aren't counting the miles to somewhere else. They're here because they want to be here, and $27,000 is what it costs to join them. So here's the very last house on today's list. Red brick, dark wood trim, a garage, and half an acre of West Texas quiet. $27,000. And that's Texas. 8 houses, a farmhouse on 10 acres with a kitchen that belongs in a magazine. 41 acres of desert with your own private canyons. And at the very end, a red brick house for $27,000. Every house on this list is real and listed right now. If any of them stopped you, the links are in the description. Subscribe to my channel, Tiny Bucks Houses, so you catch next week's state before everyone else does. And if you thought Texas was hard to beat, just wait.